the idea of emissions trading, I think, was first developed actually, at least in theory, but also in practice with the sulfur trading system in the United States. But the EU has now, I think, passed the US in the practice because we have the world's largest emissions trading system. And there are several schemes in the United States, but they're all smaller than the EU ETS. So this is how the EU emissions trading was born in 2005. And the novelty, of course, of this emissions trading system is that it's results-oriented. We set a target to be reached at a certain time, and we leave it to the market, to the companies, to decide how they are going to reach that target. And that's different from what is called perhaps the command and control type of legislation, when each company or each installation is told to reduce by so much, and they all have to do it, whether they can do it cheaply or it's very, very expensive. What do companies really have to do when they participate? Well, the first thing they have to do is to think how they're going to comply. Are they going to buy allowances in the market, or are they going to reduce their emissions? Are they going to do both? And how do they decide? That depends a little bit on the costs they have for reducing emissions. What is the market price for allowances right now?
We have different programs or financing tools in the housing area for new houses and for existing buildings. And the message in this slide should be that the more you do as a client of KfW for CO2 reduction, the better the conditions, meaning first of all the interest rate is. KfW is not directly in contact with the final clients. We are working together with commercial banks, and I think it's very important that we are not part of the market as a state-owned bank, but that the market itself leads these cheap money, let's say, to the clients, so that the market itself is not disturbed. We can do a lot of things on the national level, first of all in housing and in the on the corporate sector. You can combine CO2 effective measures with a promotional program for the national economy, as we see from the housing programs in Germany. And we need innovative financial solutions, because the budget of a member state and the budget of the European Commission won't solve the enormous challenges we have with climate change.
The directive which introduces the emissions trading system has been transposed with the Environmental Protection Act and its amendment from 2005. Three regulations were also introduced which establish the procedure and ways in which emissions are issued, also how to establish the register of allowances. The national allocation plan has been supported by a PSO project funded by the Netherlands. Within the framework of the project, an interministerial working group was set up. Work on the project started in 2005 by identifying the installations which will take part in the emissions trading system. Then the necessary data were collected, and the emissions allowances were allocated according to the established methodology. After the allocation was completed, the plan was submitted for approval to the European Commission. In October 2007, it issued a decision. According to the decision, a new allocation must be submitted to the European Commission that would comply with the quotas allowed by the Commission.
Rotterdam is the top of fighting the climate exchange of the cities. Why? Because we take the climate issues as Rotterdam very seriously. You see on the first slide that our former Prime Minister and the Mayor of Rotterdam take the initiative for the Rotterdam Climate Initiative. There's a cooperation between the port, between the city, between the EPA, the DCMR, and the Delta Links, and that is the companies united. That means in that field we take the initiative for CO2 reduction under the assumption that there will be level playing field. And that's the strength, I think, of the Rotterdam area, that we have a good balance between the economics and a balance between economics, companies, and environmental issues. Conclusion, my conclusion is that our 50% goal was enormously. We ask a lot from the companies in our area. We ask a lot from the government, but we can do that only with CCS, with storage of CO2. And in that field, I think the Rotterdam business case will be economically feasible. And I mentioned already the reasons why. Then we come to the European Union, because it's only an example how we work at the moment in Rotterdam. And I think it's necessary that CCS is between the ETS. And the European Commission said already yes. And I ask here the people from the Parliament, vote for it. Because that's important. Because otherwise, if you don't do it, then it takes a long time before the companies accept it that the CO2 reductions will be more than 20%.
Just to put it quite clear, in this week we had the meeting of the environment ministers, I think on Monday. And there was a controversial debate going on, because some member states said we want a clear indication before 2011 whether or not emission trading system will be charged on European companies, especially on those who consume a lot of energy. Take the steel branch, take the steel industry. The different industries have calculated that if it continues like that, we will have extra costs of, I think, 20 billion from 2020 on. Since these industries are investing, well, in their infrastructures, heavy infrastructures, for a long period of time, they say, we want a clear indication before 2011 whether or not the ETS is coming. And this is advocated by a Commissioner for Industry, Mr. Verheugen. Whereas your Commissioner says, no, no, no. We have to wait until 2011, then we will see whether the rest of the world follows us, and then, of course, we can stay or we can stick to our plans, or if the rest of the world does not follow, then some industry will get certificates for granted, for free. So we hope then to keep them here in Europe. This is the big debate which is going on at the moment.
The topic is not that extensively debated in Bulgaria. And the Bulgarian journalists have an important role here, an important vocation to take that information back to Bulgaria, to bring the information to politicians and the publics. And I hope that this information will not be limited to big headlines, but it will be presented more as practical information, pragmatic information, what we can do, how we can work with partners in and outside Europe.